Good day, YouTube. September 1st, 2019. And today we're going to do a little work on the bus. Here's the deal. This bus, somebody did a reasonably good job of wiring the 110 AC side of it. They put in a small panel, sub-panel. They have a 30 amp cord going to a 30 amp RV plug. And the generator, 7,000 watt Kohler generator, we'll show you that in a second, is wired to a 30 amp receptacle in the generator enclosure area in the storage bay under the bus. Well, 7,000 watt Kohler generator is good for 58 amps at 120 volt. It is a 120 volt generator. Well, 30 amp cord, 58 amps potential. This thing has 2 roof air conditioners on it, a microwave, and a various other electrical loads, which would far exceed the rating of all of the 30 amp rated stuff. So it does not have a transfer switch in it. It just simply has a 30 amp receptacle wired to the generator, so when you're not plugged into shore power, you plug the cord into the generator, start the generator, you have power. You have 58 amps worth of power running on 30 amp equipment. That's what we're going to change. So what I have purchased, I'll show you in a little bit, is a 50 amp 240 volt transfer switch and a 50 amp number 6 American wire gauge 4-wire cord, or like you'd see in a standard big motorhome or big trailer. This, when we're done with it, we'll have a 50 amp 240 volt shore power setup, and there will be no receptacle needed from the generator. It will all be hardwired through a transfer switch. Alright, the bus has been sitting here for weeks now. The suspension's all aired down. I need to go and start it up and let it run for a while and build all the air up so the suspension comes up, the brakes come up, so I can move it forward and to the right just a little bit, so I can get some room to work. The sun is going over the barn and it will be shadow on that side pretty soon. We'll have to work in the hot sun. It's going to be an 80, low to mid 80s today, so not too bad, but let's work in the shade. All right, let me go fire it up. Fires up like a champ. All right, we're gonna let it run for a little while. Let it build some air. All right, let's pull her ahead. Hopefully that's enough room to work over here. Ah, yes. Be just fine. Alright, I'll show you what we're into today. Sun's kind of bright, so I hope that's a good spot for you. Alrighty. So this is what we've got. It's a 7000 Kohler, and then that flexible conduit right up there comes up there to a 30 amp RV outlet. This cord that is wound around here is a standard 30 amp RV plug that I have plugged into an extension cord to the barn. So what we got to do is change all this. Let's get rid of this 30 amp stuff, and we'll go all 50 amp stuff. Instead of a plug and a cord to plug this generator into the coach, let's just make it a transfer switch. That's how it should be. That's how modern coaches are. Alright, I got the parts. Let's get started. Okay, little investigation here. I have opened up the box where the receptacle was, and I find something interesting. I have a double-sized neutral, a ground wire, and I have two hot wires. This is supposed to be a 120 volt generator, but it's got an L1 and an L2, and back over here it's got two breakers. I'm taking this video so I can see that too. So I'm thinking I'm going to go online with this model number, try and find a diagram. I'm pretty sure I can hook this up. I don't know if it'll be 240 volt, but it'll have two separate legs of 110. And I might as well hook it up that way, because we're putting a 4-wire in it anyway. So here's my transfer switch, and it's obviously 4-wire. So we have place to land, shore power cord, the generator, and then the panel. And then I bought this 50 amp cord, RV extension cord. I'm gonna have to cut the female end off of it, but they didn't offer a cord without that end, so hate to destroy it, but I need it to be hardwired. So there we go. Now, word of caution. I started looking at cords. I got all this on eBay. Not going to put the links in, because who's to say they're still selling this stuff. Oh yeah, the Power Max. You can buy 50 amp cords all day with 30 amp wire in them. I don't know why they sell them that way. I suppose a lot of people buy them thinking they got a 50 amp cord. They have a 30 amp cord with 50 amp ends. It is a number 10. This is number 6. This is the real deal. This will hold up. This will handle the power that a coach like this truly needs. So be careful when you're out buying that stuff. You're probably okay with a number 8 cord, but your primary cord just will be number 6. So let me get online, try to find some information, a wiring diagram on this, and I believe I can hook this up, line 1, line 2 is basically an A phase and a B phase. I don't know if it'll be a 240 volt phase comparison between the two, but there may be two legs of 120 on their own breaker, so I just will use it that way. They were tied together in this configuration. Alright, I'll go do some checking and I'll check back with you. I found a manual for a little newer 7,000 watt 120 volt RV generator. Didn't find one, I just didn't take time to look. I think this tells me everything I need to know. So you can see the ground wire here, the neutral wire here, and it has two phase wires. This is supposed to be 120 volt only. So the two outputs are actually jumpered together, primary side of the two circuit breakers. So it's keeping those in phase. I think we'll verify this right now. What I'll do is I'll get a meter and I'll save these wires off, but allow me to meter them. So I should get 120 volts between the neutral and this phase conductor, and this neutral and this phase conductor. And if I put the meter between them, there should be no phase relationship because they are tied together. They are the same phase, and I should get nothing between them. So that being the case, I would have no problem making this line 1 and this line 2, putting them separately on the 4-wire 50 amp transfer switch. That circuit breaker will act alone. That circuit breaker will act alone on this secondary side, no matter what this is. So I think that's the best way to do it. But to verify that's the way it is, let's just put a meter on it real quick, and we'll go from there. All right, we'll fire it up. Choking himself to death. Hang on, I'll fire it back up. Alright, she's just royally flooded. It has an automatic choke, and it's a really warm day, so I didn't need to choke at all, probably. I have a pair of spark plugs on a shelf. Just gonna put them in eventually. Let's put them in now. Yeah, they're pretty ugly looking. Look at those. Yucky. New ones. It ran real good though. When it runs. It's actually the first time it failed to start. It wasn't out of gas. Okay, that was the easy one. How bad's the other one to get to? Braille method. Okay, follow the plug wire. Oop, there it is. Braille method. Too much extension. Yeah. Will no extension work? Come on. Yep. It's pretty rich from probably just short runs. The plugs are really black. Never really gets a chance to run long enough to clean it. Braille method going back. Okay. Put that plug wire back on. There we go. Alright. New plugs. Try again. I want to kick myself in the head with that. Things aren't going as planned. Try that. Well, I guess I'll play with this for a little while. Alright, we're back. Fast forward to Labor Day. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday, after I quit filming, I fired the generator up. It did start and run, and it runs super rich, as if like the float was stuck. I thought at first maybe it was just over choking, but I let it run and run and run. It wasn't happy, but it was running. But just black smoke like crazy, not happy. So I thought, well, what I do, I want to proceed with getting this electrical done. I don't want to do a carb overhaul instead. I'm just kind of prepared to get this transfer switch put in and all that stuff. And I thought, you know what, I have one more can of seafoam on the shelf. Let's dump it in there. So I dumped it into the gas tank, which fills right there, on top of what is probably 3 or 4 gallons of gas. And I just let it run. It's still, just run like garbage and so forth. So I shut it down after 5, 7, 8 minutes maybe of runtime with the seafoam in the tank, and I just let it sit. And I went off to other things, because by then that generator was pretty warm, and it was already a warm day yesterday, and I'd been painting on the barn all day, so I was fairly wore out, so I just called it a day. So we're back here this morning. Let's see if this thing will start and run. Oh, let me back up a second. The last thing I did before I left yesterday was restart the generator, and it started and it ran good. So I'm claiming seafoam victory again. I love that stuff. And let's start it this morning and see if it will run like it should. Now, I don't want to get it warmed up because I got to work on it. But let's start it and just run it for a minute or so and see what happens. Curiosity is getting the best of me here. And then we'll move on to get this wiring done. So let's fire it up. think exactly what I thought. I think the float was stuck, and I think this is a result of this bus been sitting around for, you know, years and years, but it's been used over the last couple years sparingly. And I'm very, very happy that it's running correctly now, without me doing anything to it. Literally nothing. So let's I want to mention too, yesterday while it was running like garbage, I did meter like I said I was going to do. I metered between line and neutral. Remember, there's two lines and those two circuit breakers that are off back there. So after studying the schematic that I showed you, each of those circuit breakers are 30 amp and control one of the lines, L1 and L2. So it's a 120 volt machine, but there are no 240 volt loads in this bus. Typically, I think in most RV situations there are no 240 volt anythings. So we're going to hook this up with L1 on one leg of the 50 amp plug or cord cap or receptacle, and the L2 on the other leg. So it's not a 240 volt relationship, it's a 120 volt relationship between line and neutrals, and between L1 and L2 there is nothing. There is no phase relationship, so if you put a meter between them, it's zero. So that's exactly what it is. It's what I thought. So I'm happy about it, because I was saying, man, that's a bummer. It's not a 240 volt machine. Could get each side, each A phase and B phase of the panel heated up, but it's got two separate breakers, got two separate wires. All right, gang, we're inside the bus now, looking inside the panel. First thing I did is do some inspection, make sure things were done correctly when this was wired. The first thing I looked for was the ground bus, which is there at the back of the can. It's screwed to the can, which is correct. And the green wire from the cord, and the cord is right there. That's our shore power cord. So the ground is connected to the ground bus, and that is proper. Over here is the neutral bus, and it should be isolated from ground because this is a sub panel. It is not service equipment. It is isolated via those black plastic isolators, and all the neutral conductors are landed on the neutral bus, as is the neutral conductor from the shore power cord. That is correct. Now let's look at how this is fed. Remember, this is a 240 volt panel. It has a B phase there and an A phase there. Doesn't really matter which is which. Somehow they had to, because this is only a 3-wire cord, 30 amp, 120 volt, somehow they had to heat up both sides of the bus, A phase and B phase. And how they did that was to strip the cord out in the middle, landed on A phase, and then they went underneath the breakers. See the wire right there? It goes under the breakers, and it comes back on the back side of this lug here and lands on B phase. So it's just one leg of the 120 volt, which is heating up both A and B bus so that all the breakers will operate. That's okay. That's pretty good. That's kind of how it needs to be done. So somebody that did this was probably qualified to do this. So we're going to take out the shore power cord, and we're going to replace it probably with some flexible conduit, and get rid of the number 10 wire, and we're going to go to number 8, which is good for 50 amps. So pretty boring video, but I'm just simply going to get this cord out of here for the moment, and then we'll start the reconstruction. So the inspection of the panel is good. That's good news. We're moving on. All right, I've been working on this for probably an hour now. Got all the wiring taken out as far as the shore power cord. Came up with a surprise or two. This was the jumper wire going between A phase and B phase that I showed you, went underneath those breakers and came up on the back side of that lug. That's how I found it. This was not only a disaster waiting to happen, it was happening. This is all exposed. You know, we were ready for a major meltdown or a major fire. The other wires in areas they've been really warm. They were crispy in a spot or two. Like there. So, got to get that out of there. The trouble is this cord is routed all over before it gets down to the generator compartment. I'm not going to be able to get it out without tearing the coach apart. We're not going to rip and tear the coach apart. So what I've done is, see if you can see it, I've drilled a hole back in there. See it? And behind the couch, dropping down into the top of the, anyway, trust me, it's back there. Dropping into the top of the, you can see the cover open. It's the one with the grates in it. Used to be the air conditioner compartment when this was a passenger bus. So that's how we're going to route it. So I was going to use metal conduit, a flexible metal conduit, but that's not going to route in that tight spot. So my alternative is a cord. I went digging through my stash, and I found a chunk of, hang on a second, sorry I left the TV on. I found a piece of 6/4. I remember I got this cord when I bought that generator for the step van, that 4KW Honda. So this is borderline long enough. I'm going to string it out here, clean it up, and see if it's long enough to make the trip. A number 8/4 would have been adequate. 6/4 is wonderful if it'll reach. All right, I'm gonna string this out. I'll let you know what I find. Well, by golly, I already got it in the compartment, and it's going to be plenty long enough. So, wow, you just get lucky once in a while after fighting this for an hour just to find a path to get the cord connected. Now I've got a decent size number 6 4-conductor, and it's gonna make it. So I'll get it routed through the hole, get it put in the panel, get it landed. Gang, got a little progress here. We've got the big cord, number 6 4-conductor, routed into the panel. We've landed the ground on the ground bus, on the big lug there. We've landed the neutral on the neutral bus. A phase, black wire, B phase, red wire. We have a 4-wire number 6 cord. We used to have a number 10 3-conductor. So we went from 30 amp with 1 pole of power to 50 amp with 2 poles of power. Just a little over 3 times the capacity. And I already showed you the drama that was waiting for us, literally waiting to burn this baby to the ground. Could have happened. Glad I put this on the high priority list. It was what I visioned as the biggest risk. Not being able to sleep good at night, knowing that this thing's been run for probably 30 years on a generator that was capable of a lot more than the electrical was capable of handling. So we're getting that dealt with one piece at a time. I'm going to go ahead and button this up, and let's go put the transfer switch in. I'll get back with you shortly. Okay, a little more progress. Here's our 6/4 cord coming down that we just terminated in the panel. I've got plenty of length here. This piece worked out brilliantly. This is our conduit coming from the generator. It used to have the 30 amp plug on it. It was screwed to the underside of the floor. I've got it loose. We'll take this apart and we'll run this flexible conduit right into the transfer switch. I might shorten it up a little bit. The wires will be long enough. No splice. I pulled the 30 amp cord out. I just cut it. It's cut here. It's cut inside, and we're going to abandon it in the middle. Not much else we can do about it. I'm not tearing this coach apart just for that cord. So I think what I'm going to do is mount this panel in a good spot where I can get to it. Can you see it? Right there. To do that, I think I'll go get a couple of shelf brackets and then cut a piece of plywood and screw it to the underside of the floor there, and then mount this to it. That gives us really good access to terminate stuff and to check stuff, and it should be good. So I'm going to run to the Lowe's Depot and get a couple shelf brackets, take a little break, and come back, and we'll mount this panel. We'll get the cord and the flex tied in along with the big 50 amp cord. So I need to get a couple of large clamps. Romex connectors will do fine, and it'll go from there. So I'll be back a little bit and we'll get back to work. Alright, let's cut a piece of plywood for this thing. Probably somewhere in there. Give it a little room. Set this away so we don't break nothing. Some old plywood from the bus. It's kind of old and hard. Close enough. Alright, let's mount it. Let's make it black. There, is it dry yet? It won't take long. Alright. So while that's drying, I'll round up a few other pieces. That'll go there. I got a couple shelf brackets. You know what? They probably would have had black if I'd have thought to look. I didn't. Oh well. It is what it is. So these will go on the back side, like so. Got some screws. I got some 3/4 inch nice shorties. And 1, 2, 3 Romex connectors that are 1 inch. So we'll have to get these in there in there, and one out the bottom. Yep. All right, let me assemble this foolishness, and I'll get back to you. All right, it's kind of getting warm out here today, actually, so I was took another break. But hey, I got the thing mounted. I got 2 of the 3 cords in. Excuse me. All right, so this is headed up to the panel. So this is good to go. Strip that out. This obviously from the generator. And then this is my cord. So there's the male end. This is an extension cord that I bought. So as painful as it is, I've got to cut this end off so we can get it up in the panel. So I've been thinking about this. Obviously I'd like to use every inch of this. This is a very expensive cord to be cutting on. But the reality is I can make an adapter with this if I leave a little pigtail here. So I'm going to have to cut it off about right here so that I can strip the wires back and make something useful out of this. If nothing else, something that I have here at the barn, you know, like a 50 amp to 30 amp adapter or something. So as painful as it is, I think I'll cut that off about right there. We'll get this up into the box, into the connector waiting, and we'll get these things terminated before it gets any warmer out. All right, checking back with you pretty soon. All right, I got the ground wires terminated. Now I'm looking at the neutrals, the whites, left from left to right. Number 3, looks like 7 and 11. But they got jumpers going from 3 to 2, from 11 to 10. That makes no sense to me. I'm sorry, you were out of frame. The jumpers from 3 to 2 and 11 to 10. So I'm gonna go dig into the book, find out what that's about, because that's not gonna work. I'll get back to you. All right, I guess it's not as complicated as I thought. So line 1 is there, so we'll land our black. Line 2 is there, so we'll land our red. And this is the neutral, and this is some sort of a auxiliary, I don't know what, and I guess I don't care. L1, neutral L2, L1, neutral L2. So this is power cord generator panel. Easy enough. Let's get the connections made. All right, we got everything landed. What do you think? Looks okay, doesn't it? Put the cover on a little bit after we know it works. So I had to go down to the store in the RV section and get one of these, a 50 amp to 30 amp adapter, another $25 that I didn't need to keep in my wallet. So with that, let's plug her in. This will be the smoke test. If it doesn't contain the smoke, then something was wrong. Oh, they fit good. All right, here we go. Power on. Well, let's go inside and see if it works. Take the cover off so I can start the generator. Okay. Just clicked. What was that for? Time delay. Let's go see if it works. Let's just turn the air conditioner on, shall we? It's hot out there. Well, good so far. So I guess we'll feel it transfer if we start the generator. I don't ever want to hear anybody tell me seafoam is like garbage, because you guys heard that generator yesterday and it was junk. I didn't pull that carburetor last night. It's freaking awesome today. So it should run for a little while and then transfer. I'm standing in the air conditioning, by the way. Probably real noisy for you guys. I didn't really hear it transfer though. Let's go ahead and plug normal power. Some kind of load. Still running. Now for the real test. Let's turn the other air conditioner on. On high. Oh yeah. I got one of these. 50 to 30. Well, gang, the upgrade from a 30 amp RV service to a 50 amp RV service is complete. Generator runs good. Got a new air filter in it now too that I had to take it off yesterday. Had new spark plugs in it. And some seafoam in it. What the heck? Completely successful. Very happy. We took out some very dangerous wiring. Upgraded everything. This thing just gonna run great. It's gonna last forever, I hope. Good to go. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Recommend them to a friend. Help me grow my channel a little bit. I appreciate it. It's growing, but it's so slow. And thumbs up would be appreciated. And you know, we'll get some more videos going here. It's my coming into my off season. I got a couple more weekends of busyness, and then we're gonna get into some projects and do stuff that I want to do. All right, catch you guys on the next one.